Harper's Magazine, John Rick MacArthur, joins us from New York. Hello, John. Seeing as Joe Biden is the overwhelming frontrunner right now, do you think he's capable of uniting the party?
Well, he's not the overwhelming front runner. Let's not exaggerate. He's a little bit ahead. He's ahead in the delegate count, but uniting the party is the wrong question because Bernie Sanders was never about uniting the party. He was about taking on the party. He was about taking on the corruption of the Democratic Party and the rightward shift of the Democratic Party over the last 25 years. You start with Bill Clinton and NAFTA, and you end with Barack Obama overthrowing Gaddafi in Libya, and you have a Democratic Party that has very little to do with the party of, let's say, Franklin Roosevelt, which Sanders says he is representing. So it was always a long shot for Sanders because the party regulars, the people who really run the Democratic Party, they view him as a kind of a virus who had to be stopped. So after he won the Nevada primary quite convincingly, and that's a state that you would have expected to go for a regular Democrat, a regular conventional Democrat, like it did for Hillary Clinton in 2016, the party establishment panicked. And they really went to work to knock Sanders out, and they've succeeded. I mean, it's not, I don't have any hard evidence for this, but you can assume that everyone from Rahm Emanuel to Barack Obama himself got on the phone and said to Jim Clyburn, Congressman Clyburn from South Carolina, listen, you got to bail us out here. And that's where it started, was Biden's win in South Carolina.
So you've been talking about how the party, Democratic Party establishment panicked. Who does Joe Biden and his team need to reach out to for unity or to take on the next steps, the next challenges in this race?
Well, in theory, they would have to reach out to the reform element of the Democratic Party, which was represented by Sanders and by Elizabeth Warren to some extent. But they don't think they need to. They only care about satisfying their immediate objective, which is to knock Sanders out of the race, because Sanders is an existential threat to the party. He wants to take over or reform the party. And the big bloodbath that's going to take place over the next few months leading up to the convention in Milwaukee, and this is assuming Biden holds his lead and wins the nomination on the second ballot, let's say, when the superdelegates are allowed to vote. Their main objective is to knock Sanders out. I don't think they're thinking too much about beating Trump. And at this point, you could argue that Biden is the weaker candidate against Trump, very, very much because he represents everything that Trump ridiculed about Hillary Clinton in 2016. Corrupt patronage hounds, in hoc to their donors, and so on and so forth. Pro-free, quote, free trade, NAFTA, the deal with China, all the things that threw the white working class people out of work and caused them to shift from the Democratic Party to Trump in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
A bloodbath that could change maybe the nature of the U.S. Democratic Party. So what should we be looking out for in the upcoming debate between Sanders and Biden?
Well, what you got to be looking for is whether or not Sanders decides to concede anything. At this point, he's not conceding. He must realize, though, in his heart of hearts, that the party just will not accept him as the nominee, and they never would have accepted him unless he ran away with it. And even then, in the general election, they would have probably tried to subvert him. So you're going to have to watch very carefully to see if Bernie Sanders offers Biden some kind of an olive branch. Because if they go into the convention and the Sanders supporters feel they've had the thing stolen from them again, the way they felt Clinton and the party stole it from them in 2016, they're not going to turn out in November. They're not going to vote for Joe Biden, who's Mr., again, the very conventional pro-deregulation of Wall Street, pro-trade. He voted for the invasion of Iraq. He pushed the bankruptcy bill through that makes it so hard to declare bankruptcy now if you're a small time indebted credit card holder. This is the sort of thing that got Elizabeth Warren into politics was Biden's bankruptcy bill, which she was so horrified by. How Biden attracts those people is beyond my imagination. I don't know how he's going to do it. More interesting to see whether Sanders tries to make peace with or offers a pathway to peace with Biden, because otherwise it's going to be an ugly, ugly bloodbath between now and the convention.
Well,
And
it will
by the
be
way, by the way, I should add, Sanders lost convincingly in Michigan, but he seems to have won Washington State by a little bit, and that's going to embolden him. That's a big state with a lot of delegates and big cities, and is going to encourage him to stay in.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. We'll be looking out for all of those details, of course. Author and journalist John Rick MacArthur, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.